Hello, Daniel.
Hey, Michael.
What's up?
Not much. You?
Not much. What do you mean not much, man? It's like the next week of WWDC, man. We have all those betas and those YouTubers, diving into that stuff and like finding all those cool stuff,
Yeah.
And those compilation videos of new features and all that beautiful, iPadOS, iOS, MacOS, all that stuff.
A lot of stuff coming out. I saw a video, he was playing Fortnite with a mouse on his iPad.
Yeah, I saw that. And also game controllers.
Yeah. That's impressive, man. We spoke about it last week. I'm so happy about those controller support on the iPad.
That's probably one of the best features ever for the Apple TV since like forever.
Since it came out, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Ever since they announced the Apple TV 4K with the
HDR
A8 chip.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it.
But I'm surprised that they use the Apple TV for gaming since it only has an A8 chip. I mean, that's like the same chip you find in
yeah, but it has a fan.
iPhone 9.
It has a fan, so
iPhone 9.
Should be fine.
iPhone 6. True.
iPhone 6, yeah.
iPhone 6, iPhone 9. I don't know where that came from.
Wait. Does the 4K version have the A8 chip or does it have the iPad version? That's the question.
I have no idea. Let me bring it up right now.
But yeah, I have a question for you for now.
Yeah.
Which character in the ATP podcast do you relate or like the most? I like them all. I like them all. But which one do you like the most?
One that
and
I like
why?
the most. I don't know. Maybe. John's a funny guy.
John's a funny guy.
He has not that he's funny, like he says jokes, but he has his way of thinking, and he and I don't know how to explain it. Anyways, he's a cool dude. I don't know, man. At the ATP, I don't know. How about you? Who do you relate with the most, or find yourself most similar to?
I really like John and Marco, but above all, I like better Casey. Casey is like the related. Like I relate to him somehow. Like he's like the compassionate guy. That's opinionated, but like not too opinionated. So he's not settled in his ways.
Yeah, John is settled in his ways. You're not gonna change him.
He's not grumpy. He's easygoing. He's adaptable. There's something special about Casey. He's like a very kind person.
He is.
Even you never. I can never imagine in my head, like, by just like imagining and like picturing in my mind Casey angry. I can picture John and Marco angry, but not Casey for some reason. Like I can't picture him angry.
It's true. It's true.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you wanna get into the topics, or do you have the live feedback ready?
I have the live feedback, and it's an A10X chip, A10X Fusion. So it's the same one as in the 10.5, that model of iPad Pro.
Okay, so there you go.
Yeah, that's impressive
That's
for
really
Apple
powerful.
TV. That's the 4K, the Apple TV 4K.
Yeah, and the regular one, do you know, or
the regular one?
Because the
regular
A10X is so powerful.
Yeah, that's a very powerful chip.
Yeah, and it has a fan, so it's like even with like if you put like the heaviest load you have on it, you don't have to worry about thermal throttling or overheating, because the fan is doing its job, and it's a pretty good fan,
Exactly.
It's the same fan they put in the MacBook, so if it's good enough to
cool a computer CPU.
Yeah, imagine what it could do for a regular
mobile CPU.
Yep.
Yeah. So the normal Apple TV has an A8.
So
the normal one, the non-4K. The 4K has the A10X, but the non-4K has an A8.
Yeah.
So that's why they brought gaming to the Apple TV, because an A8 is a very weak chip. It's the same thing that's in the HomePod. So I mean, it's like gaming on a HomePod, but A10X, that makes sense why they're bringing.
But it has a fan, so then
it.
again,
True.
And it's not 4K is like 4 times the size.
Yeah, it is compared to just 1080p. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a 4K HDR, so there's that too.
And on top of that, I suspect that next September, when they'll be doing the keynote, they're going to announce another one with the probably A12X chip for Apple Arcade.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you'll
probably.
have unlimited power on the Apple TV.
But you know what doesn't make sense?
No.
Is that from the Apple TV to the Apple TV 4K, you pay an extra $20.
So it's not that much more expensive.
The Apple TV normal is $200. The
Yeah.
Apple TV, the normal. The Apple TV 4K is $230.
Huh.
You're paying an extra $30. Why would you want to buy the cheaper one for $30? I mean, you're getting 4K capabilities. You're getting an A10X instead of an A8. There's no reason for you to want to just buy the normal one for $30. I mean, if you say there's like a $100 difference, I understand. $30.
Yeah, no, there must be something that makes them closer, like a processor generationally speaking. It's not that much different. Like, what is the difference? $160 versus $200? What is it?
It's $200 versus $230. You're talking $30.
Maybe they're encouraging themselves of selling the Apple 4K, Apple TV 4K at a lower cost because it's subsidized by the content that they sell, the streaming and all that stuff.
It could be. But then why would you have the Apple TV HD? It's called so cheap, so close.
I don't know, man. Maybe they're honestly. You got me stumped right there. I have no explanation for that one. We'll look into it and come back to it.
Yeah. Well, this will be a future topic for sure. Why the Apple TV 4K and the Apple TV HD are practically the same price.
Yeah. You know what else got me stumped?
What?
iPadOS.
Yes.
So let's get started. Welcome to the Again and Again podcast. I'm Michael, joined here with my co-host Daniel. Daniel, iPadOS was the greatest release, software-wise, of the whole podcast. It was incredible.
Yeah, bro. It was amazing. iPadOS, man.
Seriously.
They redid the whole experience that you get on an iPad.
Yep.
It's amazing what they did.
Yep. They Sherlocked iOS and made iPadOS its own thing. So now
which is nice.
They're not dependent of each other anymore. They basically take iOS and add the final touches of iPadOS to it, which makes it better because I think they had some constraints or restrictions between iOS on the iPhone and iPad, and they couldn't do much. But now it's like two different teams, and it's no longer the same team working on the same on the two devices. It's like there's their iPad team and the iOS team. They work together, but they're separate. So the common features are across board the same, but then iPad has their own special touches, that are done by their own team, which is super cool because this gives it more capability. And there's that there's a team putting a thought into iPad only features that will make the iPad better and bring it to the next level. And so with the new iPadOS, where there's a ton of new features that were introduced, and we'll try to go through each one of them that are relevant, but we're not gonna try to bore you either while doing that. So hopefully we could keep it interesting. And since most of you already have an idea of what an iPad is like, and probably most of you too have an iPad, it's going to be more relatable than other devices. So you want to start with the first feature, which is more icons on the page.
Yes, this is a very nice feature because right now what's wrong with the iPad, well, not what's wrong, but what happens on the iPad is that the icons are very big and they're very spaced out on the home page. Yep. Like you could fit a lot more apps or a lot more icons onto the homepage than there are right now because they're big and they're spaced. What it is, the homepage right now, it looks like you took the iPhone and you just made the icons a bit bigger and you spaced them out more to fit on the bigger screen. That's what it is right now, or that's what it looks like right now.
Yep.
But now with the new iPadOS, what they did is they made the icons smaller and they put them closer together so you could fit more on a page and they're uniform throughout. Because another shortcoming that you could say about the organization on the homepage is that when you have the iPad on landscape mode, I think it's, at least on mine, the 11-inch, you could fit 6 apps, like on a row. You could fit 6 icons. But when you put the iPad in portrait mode, it goes to 5. Or I think it's 5 apps in landscape, and then you get 4 apps, icons in a row when you're in portrait. So your apps shift spots when you put in landscape and portrait, which is really annoying because like you're used to an app being here, but you on landscape and portrait they shift. Yeah. So then it's harder to get used to because like muscle memory or whatever. You're like, oh yeah, this app is there, and you press almost without looking. At least I do on my phone.
That's true.
But with this, it's constantly changing, so you never get into that. So you're always looking where your apps are. You're looking on the page where each app is. So what's very nice about what they did is that they, if it's in portrait or landscape, you have the same amount of apps. There's more apps in a row. Sorry, if it's in portrait and landscape, you have the same amount of apps in a row. And if it's and there you could fit more apps in a row now. I'm not sure how many it is, but I think it's like 1 or 2 more than there is right now. You could fit apps in a row.
Well, that adds up. That adds up if you put all the rows and columns together.
Exactly.
It adds up. And with that new home screen layout and icon compaction, they added this new feature that when you swipe on your home screen with your finger from left to right, to enter into the widget plane, instead of opening a new page with all the widgets, it will squeeze those apps on your home screen even more and display the widgets on the side, which is super nice.
Yeah, that's a very nice feature.
So basically now you have access on your home screen for your widget at all times. You don't have to go on a separate plane.
Exactly. Yeah, it's very nice.
So that's nice.
They nailed the home screen.
They did.
Now it looks like it's made for the iPad. Before it looked like it was a blown up iPhone home screen. Now it's an iPad home screen.
Yeah, that was a major complaint, but they've fixed it and improved it, and now it's something that's actually beautiful and functional all at once.
Exactly.
So, I can't complain there. It's how I expected it to be, or even beyond my expectation. It exceeded my expectation, if we could say. Then there's improvement on split view. Now this is it's hard to explain, so we might not spend too much time on it. But basically, your screen has the capability of being divided into sections. So you could have more than one app displaying at once. You could have split view, which means that you have one app that takes a half of a screen or a quarter of screen, and you have another portion. On the other side, you could either have it taking the other half or the 3/4 of the rest of the screen. So depending on how you orient it. And on top of that, there is something called slide over, which is a floating bubble of an app, which goes on top. Yeah, what is Daniel using right now? So he has the recording app. Maybe you could put a screenshot.
I could.
On the Instagram.
I'll actually take a
screenshot for the Instagrams. Yep, that would be nice. So to show people how your setup looks like. Yep, and this now what you could do is you could have more than one app in the slide over, which means in this floating, let's say a third of a page that is floating on top of the other 2 apps, which are in split view. You could have many apps going there, and you could switch through them. I'll probably link in the show notes a short video, maybe a minute long, of someone showing how it works. Or I think it's a part of the keynote.
It is. They mentioned it, in the keynote.
So I think I saw something on YouTube about that, and I'll just post it there, and you could see what it looks like. It's actually very functional, and it's all in the purpose of increasing productivity, because it's hard to be productive on the iPad if it's hard to switch between applications over and over.
Exactly.
So now they made it easier, and so your productivity should go up, which is very good, because the iPad, if you want it to be a true replacement for the laptop, it has to be able to switch between applications smoothly, in a smooth fashion and seamlessly, which now it does.
Well,
Which is
I sort
great.
of have a good way of explaining how these slide over cards work.
Yeah.
The way they work is that you have your screen in the background, so you can have any app you want. So let's say for me, I have my recording app in the background, and I have the Notes app open as a pop-up card.
Yeah.
And now the way it works is that these cards that you select to be pop-ups or floaters, they call them sometimes, they're the same size as an iPhone screen, around the same size. So these behave like you get, like if you're on Safari, you have the same controls as if you're on mobile Safari, well, like iPhone Safari, because it's a bit different on the iPad. And the thing is that with this new iPadOS update, what they're bringing to this is that you can switch in between these cards like you switch in between apps on your iPhone. Like, you know how the way on the iPhone, when you swipe up from the bottom, how all your apps come up like in an organized row?
Yep.
Like where there's one over the other?
Same thing.
Well, the same thing is going to happen with these cards, that when you slide it from the bottom, all the cards are going to be organized like the way the apps are. So if that's a better, maybe you could visualize it a bit better since you're used to seeing that on the iPhone.
Nextly, we have improvements in the Files app.
Oh, yes. I'm so happy about this.
So the Files app was already good, but now
it was okay.
Amazing. No, it was good. Look. I could get work done. I could organize my files easily. It wasn't super like here's the theme of the iPadOS update. They Macified the iPad.
They did.
That's what happened. And so every productivity and time-saving feature that we had on a Mac, not every, the important ones, they brought them to the iPad, which basically makes the iPad a real computer now, or
it does.
or a step closer. And so now they have something called column view for notes. Sorry, not notes, files. They have something called column view in the Files application, and the column view is basically a separation of your file hierarchy in many components in a horizontal fashion, where imagine you have all your files in a list from top to bottom. If you press on one, it will split the screen into two portions showing where you were and what you clicked on. So you could see you could see how your progression towards deeper in your file hierarchy is. And say that you press on, let's say, folder number 1, and it opens. You open this folder, so you have all the subfolders within this folder, and then you could click on another folder, so you have now 3 separations. And when you click on an item, let's say a file or picture, it will give you a preview of that picture. Now, Mac and Windows have the preview option within the Files app, the File Explorer, I think it's called. And I know that Finder has something similar as well, which is basically what the Files app got it derived from. And there's also Quick Actions, which has compatibility for shortcuts, Siri shortcuts, which is good.
Yeah. It's very good, yeah. What they did with the files, they overhauled the files to make it more of a PC Mac style rather than the mobile OS style.
And what this means to you personally is it is easier to move between sections of your files from one place to another, to move files from one folder to another with better ease. Because before it was doable, but it was harder, let's say.
Exactly.
And they also now allow us also to share folders in iCloud Drive.
Yes, that's very nice. You could share a whole folder.
Yep. Before you could share files, and now you could share files and folders. So that's another step closer to making the iPad version or the iOS version of iCloud closer to what we have on Google Drive and a better competitor, which is good.
Yes, and which would be very convenient for us because we share our podcast files like my side of the recording, I share it through just like I share just that one file. But now that I could share a whole folder, I could just share all the episodes all at once, which is a lot easier and a lot more convenient.
And you could access everything that I'm doing. So let's say if you need a social media picture, you don't have to request it from me. You could access it from the folder.
Exactly.
And that's another thing that you would love. Now you have access to pluggable USB drives and SD cards and external hard drives. Tell us about it.
Yes, this is amazing. Because the new iPad Pros, they have a USB-C port, and you could plug things into it. Like prior to iPadOS, you could plug in an external hard drive or anything, a USB-C, a USB-C like USB stick, and it wouldn't do anything. The iPad wouldn't recognize it. But now, with this new iPadOS, you could plug in an external drive, you could plug in a USB stick, and it will recognize it, and it'll bring you into files, and you can import stuff or export things from your iPad onto these USB sticks, which is very convenient because, I mean, you could run out of storage on your iPad, and then if you do, it's like, oh no, you're stuck. Either you upload everything to the iCloud or you have to delete stuff. There's either those two options. But now you can plug in USB drives, and you can get external storage, which I really like. I'm really happy about.
Yep. And that's really good. And now they brought the same thing for cameras. So when you plug your camera, let's say if you plug a wire in your camera and in your iPad, you could choose where to import the pictures. You could import it in Drive and Files, in any other application you want. You're not limited to the Photos app, which is a very nice thing.
Yeah. And it's cool because like you can import it directly to, let's say, Photoshop.
Yep.
You don't have to import it to Photos and then select it from Photos in Photoshop, like Adobe Photoshop. You can import it directly into the app and work on it from there, which is a nice little added feature.
And the way they are achieving this is through the feature that we requested, the long-awaited feature, local storage. So now the iPad has local storage, which enables all these things we mentioned. Because everything is not obligatedly backed up to the iCloud, you could have data that is physical to your iPad, and I bet there's a way to back it up on the iCloud.
Yeah,
it is not primarily located there. It will by default now save on your iPad and then back up, as opposed to before just backing up automatically and then not being on your iPad anymore. You have to re-download it from the cloud.
Which is another thing I'm excited about, because same with the episodes. I save them all in iCloud storage because it's complicated for saving it onto the iPad's like actual SSD. So I'm really happy about that. That's a cool little feature that I will use.
Yeah. And other minor features are now you have search suggestions. So when you search something, let's say you almost got the whole thing written, it will start giving you suggestions like, oh, did you mean this? Yeah. So you could go directly to it and make your life easier. And keyboard shortcuts integration. So now on the iPad, let's say you're using it with a keyboard, you have more shortcuts to be able to navigate more efficiently and to do certain features that are more Mac-like within the iPad application due to these shortcuts. So you don't have to press and hold on everything and get that menu and then start swiping through that menu and then clicking on the option. You could use shortcuts, makes it easier. If you don't remember the shortcuts, you just press on the command key for like 5 seconds, and then all the list of shortcuts that you have access to will be displayed in a nice list in front of you, and you don't have to remember them because they're there.
Yeah, that's a very nice thing. I use keyboard shortcuts all the time in all the apps I use. If they support it, I use keyboard shortcuts. So that they're adding more, I'm very happy about that.
Also, they did improvements to the Safari app. Now, we mentioned last week in the iOS version of the Safari app that there was many improvements brought there, and those same improvements carry to the Safari app on the iPad because Apple believes in feature parity. They bring features to one thing, they bring it to the other. And so that, that with that theme, they brought all those features, but they brought other features too that are iPad exclusive because they require a bigger screen, and those features are present on the Mac, and why not bring them to the iPad? So, Daniel, those are features that you are long awaiting. Do you want to go through your favorite ones first?
My favorite one is the download manager in Safari.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
I'm really excited about that. Like, I mean, there's now you can download things straight off of Safari, off of a website. I mean, you're able to do that on a PC, but you're never able to do that on or a Mac, but you're never able to do that on the iPad. And now they're bringing download manager to Safari, so you can download things straight off of the website, straight off Safari. And what's nice is that now that they improved the Files app, you can download things straight off Safari and choose where they go in the new improved Files app. Everything goes hand in hand. It's a very nice thing that they added to Safari. And also, staying on the note of Safari, they brought over a desktop web pages to Safari, because like now what they had was like it was a mobile version of Safari, but it was a big screen. So it was, your web pages were kind of lost in a way, because you're using the mobile app that's made for a phone, but yet you're using a screen that's almost the size of a PC, of like a laptop. So the web pages didn't fit in well. Now what they did is they made them actual desktop pages, which is very, very impressive.
And if you don't like that web page in the regular desktop mode or regular browser mode, you could always switch it back to mobile mode. You know?
Yes.
So it's better. And because some websites, they block you from using the desktop mode of the website.
Yeah, some of them you could request desktop site, but some don't let you.
So now there's a delineation that's done, and ostensibly speaking, it is better because you get the full version of applications. I like to point out one of my features that I like the most in desktop mode, and that's Google Images reverse search. So usually when you search for an image on Google, you write, like, let's say I'm looking for the picture of bacon. So you write bacon. But let's say you have a picture of something and you want to find where it's from. So you could upload that picture on Google Images and it will do a search and find images that are similar or exactly like it.
That's a very cool feature that they added.
Exactly.
That's obviously another thing that you have on a PC or a Mac, but you don't have on the iPad.
And now that you have desktop mode enabled and allowed, it is good. And it works. Also, now you have access to the full version of Google Docs, which the Apple application for Google Docs, made by Google, of course. Not Apple didn't make it, but it's on the Apple Store. It's not very good, but the web version is way better. And now you have access to it through the website. You have also access to WordPress websites and editors and everything like that, and also Squarespace websites. You could edit them. We host our website and our podcast on our Squarespace website. So this makes me happy because now I could edit the website through the Squarespace app and Safari, which is good for me. And they also brought, I'm going to go through the minor features here. They brought 30 more keyboard shortcuts, which is good.
Yeah.
Now you could also have a save tab set, which is a feature on the Mac. Let's say you have a few tabs that every time you open Safari, you want them to be there. Well, now you could do that. Every time you open Safari, these tabs will be here by default, even if you close all your applications or like force quit or delete all your history or anything. When you reopen Safari, they'll be there by default.
Yes.
And if you have handoff enabled on your Mac, you'll be able to access those same websites from your Mac and on your iPad, which is nice. Nextly, Apple brought another feature that enables or improves the life on iPadOS. And that is a better way to manage and to use applications in split screen. Now, usually you're limited to only one instance of an application. So let's say you're using Notes.
Yes.
You can only use once the Notes in split screen. You cannot have two sets.
Or like one note at a time.
You cannot have two sets of notes. But now you do.
You can have two notes open at the same time.
Yeah, now you do. You could have two instances of the Notes application. So let's say you have two different Notes file. You could have them side by side in split screen and work on both at the same time. You could have them on different...
Same for Pages.
Same for Pages.
Stuff
same
like
for...
that,
Actually,
any app.
All apps that support them, you could now do it.
And you know what's really nice about Safari in this? Because Safari can already do this, like have two web pages open side by side. But what's a really nice feature about this is the fact that you can have, like, let's say I'm doing work on a note. Okay, I'm doing an assignment for school or on a Pages. I'm using Pages or Microsoft Word, whichever note paragraph or Word document editing app you use. You can have, like, let's say Safari and Word open at the same time. Now, let's say I'm taking a break from my writing and I want to just open Safari because I just want to look at news or whatever. I want to browse the web. Now, when you reopen Safari, either you have to close your Word document and work and use just Safari, or use Safari only halfway and have your Word document there. Now, with this new added feature, you can still have your Safari Word document set up staying there, and you can open up a new Safari window on top of that, which is a cool little feature. And you can do that with any app. Like, let's say I have a note and I don't know, and YouTube open, let's say, and I want to open up another YouTube, let's just say, for an example. You can do that, which is this is almost one of the best things they did to iPadOS.
True. Like, after the other important features like files, this is the very important one.
Yeah. And even even the thing with the cards, how we mentioned before, you can have, like, let's say multiple notes in your cards or multiple Safari pages in your cards, which is nice.
So basically, if you have an iPad and you have the compatibility, or your iPad could accept the latest version of iPadOS coming this fall, use these features. Don't be like Dwane. Dwane does not use the latest features. I think actually
Dwane doesn't update his phones and his iPads.
He's like a caveman, you know. Don't be like Dwane. We hate Dwane, by the way. We hate that guy.
We hate Dwane. Guy. Dwane is still on iOS 9 on his phone.
The worst one ever. Yeah, that's probably like the worst update ever.
That's why he's on it.
On to the next feature they enabled is font control. So now I think Apple's ecosystem, or Apple's applications, and the overall system uses the font. It's called San Francisco. Yeah, it's a font made by Apple, and well, now in the future you'll be able to buy or download other font sets from the App Store, of course. And so let's say if you don't like San Francisco, or you have like a vision impairment which makes it hard for you to read certain fonts, well, now you could change it. And that's very good. It's kind of like a accessibility, a life quality, and a graphic kind of feature, you know, because before you had to install profiles to get new fonts on the iPad. Now you don't. And so people that had, like, let's say vision impairments or dyslexia, they had a hard time reading or using the current some fonts and some in some applications, and now you could change it, which is very good. I'd like to also add that within the life quality of the iPad, they have introduced multi-touch improvements. And now, Daniel, I know you're a fan of this one. For taking screenshots, you have to usually press on 2 buttons at once to take a screenshot. Well, now you don't anymore. You just take your Apple Pencil, you put it on the bottom left corner, and you swipe up. And there you go. And you took a screenshot, and you could edit it and send it and email it and do everything you want. That's simple. You don't have to pick up your iPad and then click and by accident lock your iPad.
Yeah. Or raise the volume or something.
Exactly. So now it is way better, and I'm really a fan of this feature. And just judging by the applause of the crowd, you know,
they were really happy about this. You know what's really cool about this also is that it takes a picture of any screen you have on your iPad. So let's say you have to sign a document. You could swipe up with the pencil, sign the document, and boom, there you go. No printing. You don't even need to bring it into like a PDF app like GoodNotes or something. You could just take a screenshot and sign it from there. Yep. It's a really cool feature that they added.
And it also gives you the ability of taking a screenshot of a whole web page. So you don't have to take 7 screenshots of that web page to get the whole thing. You have the ability now of doing it the whole thing, which is really nice.
Thing all at once.
Really nice.
Yeah, it's a very cool addition.
Yeah, that feature is going to kill a lot of applications out there.
Yes.
There's a lot of apps that use that feature, and now it's going to kill it.
Yeah, like PDF markups or whatever. Like, now you don't need that anymore.
Yep. Especially for the ones that there's applications that combine screenshots together to make one long screenshot. That's gonna kill it too. And other multi-touch improvements is scroll indicator scrolling, which is basically when you scroll on a page, you have the indicator of how far you're down the page. Well, now you could use that to navigate a page and go faster instead of just like scrolling like a maniac on your screen and tapping up and down. You could just use the scroll indicator and go fast. Let's say
like you could do on a computer.
Yeah, like you do on a computer. It's practical for PDF pages, PDF files like with like 100 pages on it. So you could go easily and quickly between segments of that.
Exactly. Instead of swiping and swiping and swiping.
Yeah, making your life easier. And
swiper, no swiping.
Okay, no, we'll get a copyright strike here.
Nickelodeon is gonna sue us.
Don't do it, Nickelodeon.
No.
Dwane still watches Nickelodeon. What do you mean? He drinks Starbucks and watches Nickelodeon at the same time. Shame on you, Dwane. Grow up.
Though he's 40.
Yeah, he's 40. I thought he was 38.
He's 40.
Is he?
I don't know. How old is Dwane?
No one knows. Even Dwane doesn't know his age.
Dwane doesn't know. He forgot when he was born.
Oh man,
his parents never told him.
Poor guy. He, I want to be sympathetic towards him, but like there's things he does, like I can't stand it. Anyways,
there's no room for sympathy for Dwane.
Other things that Dwane doesn't do that you should do is use the new copy and paste gestures. So
yes,
by pinching and spreading with your 3 fingers, you could copy and paste, and by swiping right or left with your 3 fingers, you could do or undo an action. So that's right there is a really good improvement of life, because before it was harder, way harder to do those things.
Yes, you have to like hold down on what you wanted to copy, and then it'll get highlighted, and you have to highlight everything you wanted to copy, and it was very complicated. Now you just pinch and there you go.
Yep.
Whatever you wanted to copy is copied or highlighted.
Yes, exactly. And so that brings us now to the pencil, the Apple Pencil.
Yes.
I really like the Apple Pencil. It's like better than writing with a real pen, because
it is.
The only pens I like are like liquid ink. They're basically fountain pens, but minus the metal tip, and it's like made of plastic and felt. And they make my hands dirty all the time because the ink dries so slowly. But the Apple Pencil feels about the same and does not make my hands dirty.
I have a question for you though.
Well,
what do you think of Paperlike? Because I've been considering getting one of those paper feeling screen protectors for the iPad. Aside from the fact that if you look at it at an angle, it'll distort colors a little bit. I don't mind of that.
I'm all for it, except for that reason. We'll actually get to that topic later, because when we're covering the MacPro, we'll have to talk about it. But yeah,
true. Basically,
the way that the screen, the paper-like thing, coating, is made, it does not reflect light evenly, which makes it create like this rainbow effect. And it distorts the quality of the display. You're buying an iPad with this beautiful display. Don't ruin it. Use it.
But that's only if you look at it more at an angle.
Yeah.
That it distorts. Usually I look at my iPad straight on.
Yeah, but you can't always. Let's say you're only writing with your pencil. You can't really control the angle right there. You have to like put it in a flat position. And let's say the lights in your, depending on how the lights are set up in the room you are, it may change or influence or vary the quality of the light, because matte displays are supposed to block glare. But from what I hear is that the paper-like display doesn't do well with glare, and it reduces the overall brightness of your screen. I like the feeling aspect of it and how it improves it, but I'm not a fan about the quality of the screen reduction.
Yeah.
It's a mixed bag. If the compromise is worth for you, do it. If not, don't do it.
The thing is that it's also pretty expensive. Anyways, let's move on.
Yeah. Back to the Apple Pencil. The latency of the Apple Pencil was cut down from 20 milliseconds to 9.
This is incredible.
It is crazy. Bonkers. Like, how?
I don't know. Like, how? How do you do that? Already the thing is like, you can't even tell that there's a latency.
Exactly. And now it's like negative latency. So like you're writing, and like before you even put your pencil on the screen, it'll write the word. It predicts.
Yeah. No, my goodness, man. They cut it down by more than half.
Yep.
That's crazy.
like I'm all for it, you know. Like we're not going to talk much about
for
this
sure.
because there's nothing else to say. But if it feels more accurate and more like a pencil, like a real pencil, I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
Me too.
Like already, it's better than the Wacom competition, and now it's even better. So
yeah,
like, Wacom, beware. Apple is coming for you. Yeah, and nextly we have a shrinking keyboard. That's another improvement.
Yes.
So
yes,
we all know that in portrait mode, the keyboard is ridiculously big, which makes it hard to handle with one hand. You literally have to use it two hands, and even then, you can't reach the middle, the letters in the middle easily, especially on the bigger size iPads. So now, instead of having this humongous keyboard block taking half of your screen and making it hard to type, you could make it into an iPhone-sized keyboard that floats on top of anything, and you can move it wherever you want and type there.
And they have that new QuickType thing.
Yeah,
I think that's
the swipe keyboard. Yeah, QuickType.
Swipe keyboard, exactly.
The swipe keyboard, QuickType.
So it's easier to type with one hand, or one finger. Sorry, with one finger.
Exactly. And another feature they added is when you take a screenshot of a page or picture, you have these markup features, these like pencils and tools. Well, now there's new tools and improved tools. So their tools are nicer. So basically, it's paint the application on Windows, but on the iPad, and it's accessible through all of the ecosystem, which means that let's say you have an application that wants to integrate writing features in it, they don't have to create their own writing module that's compatible with Apple Pencil. They could just use Apple's, which is fantastic.
Yeah, that's amazing. That'll make it easier for developers.
Expect from now on more applications with Apple Pencil support, and I'm all for it. I like it.
Me too.
On to the next segment of the keynote, the Mac.
The Mac. The beloved Mac that everybody thought Apple didn't care about anymore.
Okay, so I gotta say this for one last time. They released the Mac Pro with unlimited power! Unlimited power!
So unlimited!
No, like, you have no idea how unlimited it is. Here, let me go through the specs. 300 watt, up to 28 core, 56 threads processor.
56 Intel Xeon.
And that processor consumes 300 watt. My MacBook Pro with 4 cores uses a maximum 45 watts. And it has an integrated GPU.
You could buy power supplies that are 300 watts to power an entire computer.
It's crazy. And it starts at from 8 cores, goes up to 12, 16, 24, and 28 cores, which is incredible. But not incredible to what comes next. It has 12 RAM slot. RAM for rapid access memory.
1.5
terabytes
of RAM.
That is more storage than most people have on their computers. But RAM.
That's like double storage that people have on their computers.
Daniel, you want to hear something crazy? Guess how much a 128 gig ECC RAM stick cost?
How much?
$1,100. You need 12 of these to get a 1.5 terabyte.
That's gonna cost a lot.
Yeah, so like...
That's really gonna dent your wallet.
I'm telling you right now, the maxed out Mac Pro, it's gonna be basically $40,000.
Yeah,
US.
For sure. Easy.
US. And to make use of that incredible Intel processor, which is impressive for what Intel is able to do, compared to everything else they did in the past, they have the ability of running 8 PCIe slots. 8 PCIe.
That's insane.
To most of you, it doesn't mean anything. PCIe slots. And that's PCIe 3.0, by the way. A PCIe slot is basically a USB port, but for your graphics card. It's basically how you connect a graphic card to the motherboard and to the processor.
Exactly.
So they could do some handshaking together, talk together and send information between each other. And The PCIe ports have incredible speed, and it has 8 of them, which is crazy. And not any PCIe ports. It has special ones. We'll cover that later.
This computer is such a beast that even Linus Tech Tips is excited for it. Linus.
And he literally himself said, we have no use for this. It is way beyond what we need.
That's crazy. For Linus Tech Tips to say that they don't need it, the thing must be really powerful because this guy has some powerful PCs.
Yeah. You know what? Let's just finish the specs and then we'll give our thoughts about it because I have a lot of thoughts about this stuff, you know? So let's finish the specs quickly.
Yeah.
It has 2 10 gigabit per second Ethernet ports.
That's insane.
2, I don't know why. Maybe one for your internet network and one for a NAS, network attached storage device. That's probably why. It has incredible graphic card options. And the nice thing about the graphic cards is well, it starts with a Radeon Pro 580X, which is okay. You know, that's for someone who doesn't have any use of a graphics card except to run a screen. So basically, if you have a display in front of you, you need a graphics card to run that screen. That's what it's for. It's for basic use, you know, applications. Exactly. Sometimes they could use GPU acceleration, but it's for, you know, more CPU oriented tasks that could use the help from a GPU. And then there's the powerful, unlimited, bottomless. I'm a loss for words. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. Radeon Pro, and here's this. Radeon Pro, not any Radeon Pro. It's the Radeon Pro 2. Why 2? Because there's 2 GPU cores on one board. It's a 2 GPU combined in one. And you could put 2 of those.
Insane.
It's insane. It beats crazy. Anything that NVIDIA has in power because of those 2 GPU cores. It is incredible. Nextly, you could put an afterburner card. An afterburner card is like a coprocessor. It's like we have the Intel processor, and the coprocessor is made to do a certain task super quickly, but it only does that one task. It doesn't do anything else. For now, what we know is that the afterburner card is used to improve video editing, which gives the ability for professionals to edit 3 streams of 8K raw video without indexing them or using any kind of trickery to be able to do it. And you could do it live with no lag.
That's crazy. That's crazy. And it was doing it. They were even editing like an orchestra of how many pieces?
That was 1,000 instrument recorded in high definition.
And they were running it on Logic Pro.
Yeah. Now, this is incredible. Why? Because this is not possible to do on one computer. You need either a server farm to do it.
No.
Or many computers connected through something they call a jellyfish, which basically connects 3 computers into one. And then they could combine the power of these 3 computers together. They don't need to do that here. They could do it on one computer. It's crazy. It's insane.
Yeah.
Like,
it's incredible. Incredible. This is the type of machinery that they edit Star Wars on.
Oh yeah, and Toy Story. They make the whole movie Toy Story on this one computer. They could do it easily.
Yeah. Like all the editing, all the animation, everything. On one single machine. One machine. It's incredible.
And to provide to you all that power, that unlimited power, it consumes 1.4 kilowatt of power. I'm telling you right now,
1.4 kilowatts.
That matches the hourly consumption of most households in the States.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it has a ridiculously awesome cooling setup. Now,
yes.
We didn't talk about the looks yet because it's hard to describe.
You would have to see a picture of it.
Right now, open your phone or whatever device you're watching this and look at the picture in the album art. It should have changed. You should see that the picture changed and this is what it looks like. And from now on, you will notice that it looks like a cheese grater and you will realize that people are actually calling it a cheese grater for the past few years, but you didn't know why. Now you know why. It's not the first cheese grater Mac Pro, by the way, but yeah.
Yeah, but it looks more like a cheese grater than the previous G5.
Exactly. And the cost of the Mac Pro, the starting cost, we only know the basic setup, the basic configuration, which basically means the 8-core Intel Xeon processor with not a lot of RAM, not a lot of storage, and
only 256 gigs of internal storage. Just nothing.
And to match, some people are saying, Apple could make better for the same price. They could have put more stuff in the Mac Pro for $6,000.
US.
Yeah, they could have, but that's not the point. Because remember, Apple is making tons of money off of people that are going to buy these things.
Exactly.
I want to say that if you take in consideration how expensive, let's say, the Red camera is. The Red camera is like the camera they use to film Marvel movies. It films in 8K.
Wow.
It's very high quality. And to buy it, you basically buy it in modules, and you attach the modules and you build the camera with those modules.
Exactly.
And it will go up to $100,000 plus.
Yeah, easy.
When you have a person that's shooting footage like this, he will not flinch when he's buying a $6,000 plus computer to edit that stuff. That is redundancy. That is security.
It's exactly what you said. He's using a $100,000 plus camera. You don't think he's gonna want to spend $6,000 on a computer, on a machine to edit his footage on?
I'm not gonna buy one. I'm never gonna need it. Last episode or the one before that, we jokingly said that you're gonna become a developer one day and you might need a computer like this.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you right now, you probably won't. You probably won't. You'll never need a computer like this. This is for extreme performance.
The iMac Pro will do just fine.
Yeah, iMac Pro will do just fine.
Now, the thing is what I want to say before you start with the display. What I want to say about the pricing is that the Mac Pro is really a computer for pros. And like what I mean by pros is like real pros. Like Hollywood type pros. That's what the computer is built for. It's not built for a YouTuber. It's not built for an average developer. If you want, that's why all these people saying the Mac Pro is too expensive. The Mac Pro the base price doesn't come with enough. It's like you said, the person who is going to be buying this computer has hundreds of thousands of dollars in other equipment that this is just a drop in the bucket.
Yep, that's it, exactly.
If you want a really good, strong Apple computer that'll do all your work just fine, there's the iMac Pro.
Yep.
Which will do, you're developing, if you're a developer and you need to code, or if you're a filmmaker and you need to export videos fast or edit videos, that'll do just fine.
That's right.
So all these people, and it comes with a built-in display of 5K. So like all these people that are freaking out over the price and this and that, this computer is really built for pros.
Yep.
For your, like, you could sort of say the prosumer, what they call it, like your pro but consumer. They're like more on the consumer side of the pro market.
Basically YouTubers.
That's where the iMac Pro. Yes, exactly. That's where the iMac Pro comes in.
And not even.
This is not.
You don't necessarily need the iMac. You could iMac Pro. You could get the iMac.
You could do it on a Mac Mini easy.
Mac Mini with the i9 processor. You just get an eGPU, or you get the regular iMac with the 5K screen, and you just get the top processor tier with the i9 Intel and with the Vega 20. And there you go. You have ultra performant for under $5,000.
Exactly. This machine wasn't built for prosumers. It was built for real pros.
And then again, not everyone needs that kind of performance,
Exactly.
Look, if you're not rendering 1,000-piece orchestra with instruments
recorded in like HD audio.
in like lossless audio. So basically a 15-minute recording is basically 5 to 7 gigs of file size, recorded with like the best microphones in the world, like with $100,000 mic. And I'm not kidding here. Microphones can cost up to $100,000. They record that stuff in like these, because I'm gonna go off the rails here and talk about this.
Go for it.
They build microphones around a room. They build a room, and the microphone is built for that room. So
wow. Wow.
The microphone itself doesn't cost $100,000. Maybe it's a few ten thousands. But the room itself is built to work with that microphone. If you remove the room, the microphone doesn't perform well. Why? Because the echoing and the special sound characteristics that the room gives to the microphone. When that let's say harpist, the guy playing the harp, is playing his instrument and he's recording only the harp playing, he needs the best quality of recording, and the room, the shape of the room, the reflection, the echo, the sound dampening all plays an effect of the recording quality. So you need that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
I'd suggest you to watch how these Hollywood vocalists, or whatever they call them, people that do sound effects with their mouths for Hollywood movies. Watch the person who did Megatron from the Transformers. When he recorded the voice for Megatron, you couldn't even hear him saying or doing the words. And those rooms are super quiet. Super quiet. Like,
yes.
You could hear a butterfly in India flapping its wings in that room. That's how quiet it is. Like, a pin drops, you deafen everyone. No, see, and so while he is recording, the person right next to him couldn't hear him say what he was saying, because he was doing these like voices from within his like he wasn't speaking through his like throat and mouth. He was speaking from his chest, you know? So we're talking about that level of complexity of equipment. And to do that kind of stuff, you need a computer that is 100% reliable, that has error correcting RAM, that has redundancy, that will perform above and beyond your expectations. And I'm telling you right there, Hollywood companies are not missing or lacking money. You know, they'll just write off the MacPro as an expense. It's just an expense for them.
But their cameras are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Their editing software is worth thousands of dollars. The camera crew that they hired to record, their actors, they're all worth hundreds of thousands. Their props that they use, if it's an action movie, explosions and this and that. Like, to make a Marvel movie, to get these actors, it's not cheap. You have to pay them. Yep. Your camera crew and all that stuff, all the equipment that you use, the props and all that stuff. The computer, even if it's $50,000, for them it's cheap. That's like what it costs for the camera crew to film for like a day or whatever. Like, I don't think it's that much, but like, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. Also, another use case for the Mac Pro would be people that make video games.
Yes.
Video games are intensively complex to make.
Very.
If you have a basic knowledge about how they create the graphics, they create something called a wireframe with polygons. And then they fill in those polygons with textures. And that is very resource intensive. So they need a lot. And there's like a lot of other work cases that they would use a Mac Pro. A Mac Pro would be useful. We could talk about it further.
Yeah, for sure.
Because like we could talk about this forever. But the Mac Pro's display. You want to talk about this one?
Yes.
You want to start it?
The Pro Display XDR. Now, what XDR is, I'm sure you've heard of HDR. What HDR is high definition. What's the R for?
High dynamic range. You want me to do up to speed for high dynamic range?
Sure. Yeah.
So
go for it.
When you look at it, let's say you have a scene in front of you. Let's say you're in a nice open place with like nature and everything. You have trees. You have the sun. You have mountains around you. When you look at the really bright spots, you will see them clear. But in the same field of vision, you will also see the dark spots clearly. Cameras do not work like this. Cameras do not work like your eyes. Your eyes are able to perceive the brightest spots and the darkest spots in the same time. Cameras, when they take a picture of a bright spots, dark spots will not be able to be exposed. That's why they call it the exposure. So what they do is, when they record with, like, let's say 5K red cameras, or 5K or 8K red cameras, they are taking a picture of a bright scene, but the dark spots are not visible like the human eye. They're black and darkened. So high dynamic range allows you to even out, to make the really bright spots clear and the dark spot visible.
Yes.
To do that, you need a special kind of screen, a very bright special screen. And so go ahead, Daniel, tell us about it.
And now this is not HDR, but it's XDR because it's extreme dynamic range.
Yeah.
Now this thing is an amazing display. It's 32 inches, 6K, and there's 20 million pixels in the display. 20 million. Just try to think of that. It's insane. It's an LCD panel. It's a Retina display, obviously, because all good quality Apple displays are Retina, because Retina is super crisp and It's amazing. And it's just an amazing display. Like they said, there were some people, I forgot who it was. It was one of the podcasts we listened to, and what they said was that they were taking like a live photo shoot. This is at WWDC. They were taking a live photo shoot of a girl, and they had the display over there showing the pictures that were just taken.
Oh, that was Jonathan Morrison.
Yes, it was him. And what he said was that looking at the display and looking at the girl, he's like, it's as if I was looking through a window. That's how good the display is.
Wow.
He said it looked like a window. And this is like, there was the girl right next to him, and then there was her in the display.
Yeah.
And it's just an amazing display. They put a lot of engineering into it. It can have 100 nits sustained
1,000.
brightness.
1,000.
Sorry, 1,000. Sorry, 1,000 nits sustained brightness. Sustained.
Yeah.
And it can go up to 1,600. This is insane. This like destroys all of its competition. A display of this caliber, there's like Sony displays, and they sell them from like $25,000 to $40,000 US displays of this quality.
And they're not even comparable.
No, they're 1080p.
They overheat and they only work at a few minutes at a time. And then you have to wait for them to cool down, and then you can do it again.
And this, it can have 1,000 nits sustained brightness. It can it's 6K. These displays, they're $23,000, $25,000, and they're only 1080p. But the thing is that they have such good color accuracy. That's why they're so expensive. And the Apple Display, or the Pro Display XDR, does all of this and is only $6,000. Or sorry, $5,000.
Yeah. I'd like to put in context how bright these screens are. Now, brightness in screens are measured in something called nits, N-I-T-S. And so if you pull out your phone right now, if you put it to the maximum brightness, let's say your screen brightness will vary between 150 nits to about maximum 250, 300 nits, tops.
Yeah.
If you have iMac Pro, which has probably one of the brightest screens you can get right now in the market, easily, it tops at 500 nits. This screen is so bright that it goes up to 1,000 nits sustained constantly. The amount of heat this thing creates is ludicrous. If you put the iMac Pro, the Mac Pro and the XDR display, and that's only if you have one of them, you could heat up a room easily. Like AC is mandatory.
Yes. In your studio, or that's usually where they're gonna be in.
You know why they're so bright? I didn't hear anyone cover this, and I'm gonna tell you why they're so bright. If you look at these screens right now, look at the album art. You will see what they look like. They're made of this metal. They're built out of metal, and they have this anti-reflective coating. And the reason why they're built that way is these screens are not meant to only stay in a studio. They bring these on video shoots. Let's say they're filming Star Wars in a desert, and they want to take a look of the footage they just shot on a camera right now. They'll put it on a screen. The problem is, it is so bright in the desert or in the area they are, that if you had just a regular screen, you couldn't see anything. And with the glare of the sun, so if you look at video shoots, they have all these like umbrellas around the screens, and like this tent with like drapes around it, so they can't see. That's inconvenient because it's like death, like so hot in there. I've heard people that monitor the video quality of what they're filming in these tents with the screens, not dying, like figuratively dying of heat exhaustion. They're not actually dead, but like they're exhausted. They sometimes they faint because they don't have enough water. They get dehydrated, and so this display, what it allows you to do is, without having to build a tent around you, you could look at the screen and see with the full brightness of the sun the image you're taking with the camera, and see it clear as day.
Yeah,
I'm telling you right now. They had the demo where they were showing all the displays after the keynote, after the WWDC event. They were not set at full brightness. I'm guaranteeing it.
Oh no, for sure not.
For sure, they were not full brightness. This is like up to 1,600 nits. That is light of the sun level. Like, try staring at the sun. That's how bright it is, literally. So
yeah.
I don't think it is meant to be used at all times in a dark room at this brightness level.
No. Especially in a dark room. That's used for like if you're in a really bright room, or you want to have like max brightness to see like all the colors.
Yeah.
But that's not good for your eyes if you're staring at that for a long time.
And just to shock even more, the stand for that screen is $1,000.
Yeah. That's a lot of money. $1,000 for the stand.
Look, it's a beautiful stand. You know, like I'm telling you here, it's a beautiful stand. Yeah, like, I'm not gonna say it's $1,000.
$1,000. It better be nice.
People are criticizing it though, but you gotta understand again. Let's go back to what we said earlier. Who is buying those screens?
Exactly.
I'm not gonna buy that screen.
No,
like already.
Me neither.
Like the regular screen without anti-reflective coating, the special one, the nano etched, is $5,000 US.
Yeah, it's a special type that it doesn't distort color. Like we were just talking about before with the matte displays, usually they distort colors. This one doesn't. It's very hard.
They create a special process using lasers and special technology to make a matte display without creating this rainbow effect that you have on matte screen protectors usually. And so right now, Daniel, I'll tell you the regular without the anti-reflective coating blocks glare good enough. Actually, it blocks it pretty well. But when you bring it outside, now it becomes next level. Like, try using your phone outside. It's hard, you know, the sun and everything, the glare of the sun. So you've got like a white spot on your screen and you can't see what really is going down there because the sun is reflecting that spot. So you cover it with your hand, but then anyways, that anti-reflective coating is so good that it's like if you're watching the screen in a dark room. It gives you that impression. John Gruber was talking about it on the interview with Craig Crederigi and that other engineer, or that other CEO from Apple, whatever he is. It was really interesting. Check out John Gruber at Daring Fireball. He makes these most interesting analysis and interviews and shows. He's very smart. Anyways, and so if you put all these things into perspective, so you've got a $5,000 screen, an optional anti-reflective coating for $1,000, and a stand, an optional stand for another $1,000. That's if you want one. You could not use it and use a VESA mount, or mount it on your wall, or mount it on a cart. There's a cart they use for filming. That kind of stuff is pennies for film production companies. It's pennies, especially in comparison to the $43,000 screen that Sony makes.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Which is the best one out there.
Exactly.
There's nothing better than the Sony one until the Pro Display XDR came out.
I'm telling you, man, this is... I know it's expensive, and I know people are complaining, oh, the stand is an extra $1,000, and to get it etched, it's an extra $1,000, and all this stuff. But if you're looking at it compared to the competition, it's pennies.
Yep. Look, if you're complaining about it, it's not for you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not for you. It's just not for you. People are complaining. I want a Mac display to use with my MacBook or with my Mac Mini. Just get the LG and stop complaining.
Like, look, it's 4K or 5K. Like, it's perfectly fine. Okay, it doesn't have the Apple logo, but it's sold by Apple and it's made for Apple. So what? It has an LG logo instead of an Apple logo.
It's fine.
I mean, at that point, you're not even looking at the quality of the display. You're just looking at the logo.
Yeah, and then again, I bet that Apple's going to release another display
Probably.
at the keynote in September or in October. I bet they're going to do it.
I hope so. Yeah.
They just didn't announce it because it wasn't noteworthy. It's like just a regular display with the Apple logo on it.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, just like an LG Ultrafine, something like that.
Yeah, but the Apple version with the Apple logo on it. But it wasn't noteworthy enough to announce because it's just a display with 5K screen. Nothing special.
Because they just announced the Pro Display XDR. How could you announce something that's 5K? A measly 5K.
Yeah. And so if you put all these things in perspective, they're not expensive.
No.
I'd like to also now go back to, continue to the next topic, which is macOS Catalina.
Yes.
There's not a lot to talk here. We already talked about this. iTunes has been split into 3 apps.
Yeah.
Apple Music, Podcast, Apple TV. They're great. And people are now wondering, so how do I sync my iPod or my phone to my computer? Well, now you could do it in the Finder.
Yes, which is a lot better.
It's very intuitive and it makes sense. Sidecar, an application that allows you to mirror your screen, your Mac screen to your iPad, is available.
Yes.
With using a wire or wirelessly, and it supports the Apple Pencil. So if you're running Photoshop, you could use your Apple Pencil on your iPad screen to do some editing and stuff like that.
That's a cool feature.
Love it.
Yeah.
And more accessibility features. We mentioned this last week, but now you could control the whole Mac with using your voice control.
Yeah, that's a cool little feature. I like it. We mentioned it. Yeah.
And there's the Find My application, which I actually want to create another topic for that one for the future because it's actually really interesting and has a lot of implications.
Yeah.
So Find My.
We don't have time now, but it's a very interesting topic that we'll refer to in the future.
Yeah. Find My basically, just to summarize it, is the combination of Find My iPhone and Find My Friends into one application, which allows you to track your devices even after they've been disconnected to the internet by using this technology that, let's say your Mac is disconnected from the internet and closed, and someone stole it from you. Well, while your Mac is closed, it's going to emit this Bluetooth signal that only other iPhones and other Macs could track that already have a Wi-Fi network. And what we'll do is we'll send that signal to, let's say, a random guy right next to you that has an iPhone, and it will detect that signal and send it to the servers of Apple. And Apple will be able to tell you where your Mac is, even though it's turned off from the internet, and it's not being turned on. So that's a nice thing. Yeah,
that's an amazing feature.
There's activation lock, so if someone steals your Mac right now, you could deactivate it. So basically, this Mac is rendered useless. You could go on the Apple website, iCloud, and say block this Mac from usage. So it's broken basically, and only you could reactivate it. The same improvements which were brought to Photos, Safari, Notes, Maps, Reminder,
all that stuff from iOS is also going on macOS.
Are reflected on the Mac that were on iOS.
Screen time. On the Mac.
Screen time. So the same thing that you have on your phone right now is on your Mac. So now you get to know how much time you waste on your Mac. And lastly, Project Catalyst. Now you ask
Marzipan.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically, it's just the other name for Marzipan.
Yeah. So I think they abandoned Marzipan because it's I wasn't always a fan of the name. But I'm not really
me neither.
I'm not a fan of Catalyst either, but it's better than Marzipan. Marzipan is weird. It's a name of evil villain and a dessert, I think.
Yeah, it's a dessert.
Yeah, and there's an evil villain named after that. So anyways, I wasn't really a fan about it, but yeah. And they did just a little miscellaneous stuff to mention that is worthy to be mentioned is...
Yeah, that's it for macOS.
That's it for macOS, but they did do some cool demos. They did a demo for a Minecraft version in AR. So you're playing Minecraft in real life through your iPad. Like,
it makes me want to get Minecraft.
True, like it was interesting, but then again, they had a perfect environment to play it. I don't think it's going to be that easy within your house.
No, you need a big open space. So maybe get a gym, like rent a gym, like a gymnasium, not a gym like for bodybuilding. Yeah. And like just play Minecraft there. you have kids holding iPads running around and bumping into each other. Playing Minecraft
and
on their iPads.
For the developers, in the future, there is something called Xcode UI now, which is an improved version of Xcode. And it makes it easier and better to code. Daniel, I think you saw that and you were like really like, wow, this is really cool.
Yeah, that's really amazing. I can't wait to learn how to code. I'm going to be learning next year. And I probably will do Xcode UI because my goal is to make an app for the App Store. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but
we'll make it again and again podcast app.
You know? Yeah.
Why not? So you could get...
Well, I could.
Get all the freshest content straight from the again and again podcast straight into your phone, infused with goodness through the wonderful application that Daniel has provided for you. Anyways.
Sorry, back on the Minecraft note.
Yeah, you want to...
you know who rents gymnasiums for their kids to play Minecraft with?
Billionaires.
Dwane.
True. I hate that guy.
See, Dwane doesn't encourage his kids to play ball or to play hockey or to play soccer in the gym. He encourages his kids to use iPads and to play AR Minecraft in the gym. That's why we hate Dwane.
Oh, I hate that guy. Like, already he drinks Starbucks. You know, like, you gotta know. Like,
no, he rents gyms.
Yeah, he drives a Ferrari California.
He has a California dial watch.
Yeah,
he eats California pizza.
And sushi.
California
roll sushi. It's cream cheese and mayonnaise inside. Really?
Dwane.
Anyways, well, that's it for today. It was a bit longer, but we needed to finish the segment about WWDC.
Yes.
We really appreciate you listening till the end. And we encourage you to find us on our social media. You could find us on Facebook at Again and Again Podcast, on Instagram at again.podcast, and Twitter at Again Podcast. Please send your criticisms, recommendations, comments at our email, which is the2apodcast@gmail.com. And if you want to support us, you could give us a 5-star rating in the Apple Podcast application. And if you want to become a Patreon member for $1 a month, you could help us replenish our Tim Hortons coffee fund, because, you know, we want to replenish the coffee fund. Dwane gives us money for Starbucks, but we don't drink Starbucks, you know.
No.
We don't like Dwane. And you'll get a few perks doing that. We are currently working on perks to give to Patreon supporters. And stay tuned. Stay tuned on our social media, as we always have new updates and new things coming up. We're working on a few incredible things, maybe a few partnerships with big YouTubers coming up soon. So stay tuned, and yeah.
Yes. Have a good one. It was a fun episode. WWDC.
Yeah. So
condensed.
Man, it's 12:44. Okay.
Me too.
Bye bye, people. Bye.
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 Okay, I can All right, for real this time. Bye.
Bye.